Hello and welcome to FRL Season 14 and the tiers and calendar announcement. Hello, my name is Stephen002 and joining me today is our owner, TRT Bunty. Good morning.
Hello. It's nice to be here again. Nice to have a run through the tiers and have a look through the calendar. So, yeah, can't wait to have a look at how all the tiers are stacking up.
Yeah, after a long season last season, it was decent all the way through the season from all the tiers. Last season we had 4 tiers, which was a record in FRL history, and overall I thought it was a very good season in each tier. Each tier had minor difficulties at times, which were quickly sorted out, but it all ended up well in the end. And this season coming up, we've reduced the calendar to 16 races because of obviously time limits and the new game hopefully coming out and stuff. So yeah, it should be a good season coming up then, shouldn't it? Bunty.
Yeah, it definitely will be. I think there's probably less changes in terms of drivers compared to last season, as you mentioned. Obviously, I think last season we went from 2 to 4 tiers. We're sticking with 4 tiers again, but obviously now we've got 4 champions from last season, with obviously Jensen in F1 staying in F1, in F2 David moving up to F1, in F3 I think it was
Speaking of the tiers, let's get started because everyone's eagerly awaiting the tiers announcement, as we all know yesterday, but we'll just discuss each tier as we see fit and stuff, so let's get on with that then. Well, I would if it came up on my screen. There we go. Right. I hope everyone can see. We start with the best tier of all from last season, which you commentated on and I raced in, F4. Yeah, hold on, it might be me actually. People were saying about echo, but I thought it might have been because I turned something on. Right, is that better?
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Anyone can say.
Yeah, sorry, I turned you off apparently. Oops.
Okay, anyone can confirm that. Do you know what? Oh. Okay,
yes.
nice.
Yes.
And Neil says yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just some people complaining of the echo, which I thought it was between us both. I don't know. Right, anyway, sorry.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, you continue with F4. Obviously, it's going to be once again 20 drives battling out. You can't see your seat towards the bottom, but Alfa Romeo there, just below Williams. But it's looking a very exciting tier. I feel like some of the drivers in pre-season, it could be interesting to see their pace. I mean, the man at the top, RVDKO, I think he'll definitely be someone to look out for. So all around the tier, I think it's a lot closer than last season because obviously VIP we saw really in qualifying blitz it away, as obviously both of us knew. As you said, I commentated on tier and obviously you raced in the tier. But yeah, I mean, what are you thinking in terms of who'll be the favourite into pre-season?
Apparently, there's rumours on Discord that a few of the reserves aren't F4 pace, but they're put in the reserves because they obviously haven't got a full-time seat. But this week, priority might be given to the reserves to race to see what kind of pace they've got, which, as you've well known in the past, that I don't like people without practice just being thrown into the deep end, but it's pre-season anyway. But yeah, we'll see what happens on Monday. But as far as F4 is concerned this season, if the drivers who are in there, maybe Kostya, who at the end of last season proved that he had some pace as well, as well as RVD. He could be up there as well. But the most improved driver over last season in F4 is Evil Zook, and he is going to be up there as well. And an exclusive is that he hopefully, if we do get the Ferrari, which is 99.9% guaranteed this season, that he's decided to agree to be my team at Maranello. So hopefully we might get constructors, but we've got a few others like Ties, Cryptic, Evolvo showed some signs of pace, especially 1 week in qualifying, where he was qualifying on pole, which, less said about that, the better.
Yeah, I mean, as you said, Evolvo has a brilliant weekend in Brazil. Whether that was on his account or Macho's account or whoever's account, we don't know. But as you said, I think F4 we saw last season, given it's the first time we've had it, I think, since 2018. Correct me if I'm wrong with GHR.
Yeah.
It was interesting to obviously see how spread out the field was. Obviously not ideal, but you've got some returning faces from the start of the season, like to Paul's Got Balls, who obviously drove for Aston Martin and then disappeared. Your idea as well, he's going to be back again after a few races later on in the season. Resolute Rally, he's returned after the USA shenanigans of going out too early in qualifying. But I think, last season probably set the bar for a lot of drivers. I think Andy has won, he DNF'd a lot, so now he knows what he's got to do for this season, just finish races. And other drivers, obviously, like Ties, he just needs to get those podiums down, which I don't think he got a podium last season. But even yourself, I think you've now set the bar with being an F4, so you and obviously all the other drivers know what you've got to do for next season.
Yeah, as you said, there was a few drivers who did improve over last season as well, like the likes of FRL Andy, who showed good pace in races. It's just sometimes his strategy and his driver mistakes and stuff like that. And maybe a few dark horses like Mockingjay or... Actually, I've just realised that Pippo is still in F4 as well, and he could be definitely one person who is right up there from the start of the season.
For sure, I think Pippo, I think he was in Williams last season. He actually probably focused more on constructors than he actually probably needed to. I remember in Abu Dhabi, I think it was turn 3, lap 1, he immediately let through VIP. So he's someone as well who's got to be trying to focus more on himself, I think, than his teammate. Yeah.
Well, as we all know, if drivers are too quick in the early rounds, then they'll get moved up. So, it's going to be a good season in F4 regardless. A lot closer than last season, hopefully, potentially anyway, with about maybe 5 or 6... Yeah, with about 5 or 6 drivers moving up to F3.
I think before we go to F3, commentators as well, which we've, with this spreadsheet, been managed to obviously be blessed with, a completely new F4 commentary lineup apart from Parrot. So we've got Tenturi there, who raced in F2 in some races. We've got David, who's already the F2 champion, and Lou, who was, I think, 3rd in F1. So obviously, they're not drivers, but they're primarily commentators. But it's going to be a new commentary lineup, which hopefully we'll see a lot more commentators for attending. But anyone in terms of the commentators you're excited to see commentate on your tier?
I'd like to hear Parrot, as always, trying to get me my first win and egging me on. as you both did to the latter part of the season. Last season, but it's still not meant to be yet. About 3,000 days winless and counting, as Zero says on his Discord statuses for me. But David's an interesting one. We'll see how he takes the commentary this season with Parrot. But I'm looking forward to it, and hopefully watching all the good streams back of them losing the voices, because there's so much action on track and all good clean racing, and not for laughing at people crashing out and stuff, as the bad old days of FRL with certain commentators laughing. But But
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be good, really good with the commentary lineups. It's easy to lose your voice because obviously F4 is the best tier, so the action you get is non-stop. But yeah, I think people were pretty impatient. We got 21 viewers, so I'm sure everyone wants to see F3, which
yep.
I don't know, it's a bit underwhelming in my eyes, but unless you got anything else to say for F4, maybe move on to F3, I guess.
No, I've got nothing more. Well, one last question actually. Who do you think is going to be the dark horse in F4 out of maybe a reserve or someone in the actual full-time seats?
Out of the full-time seats, I think Cryptic could well be champion. I think he's often overlooked, and I think he improved a lot last season from crashing almost every race to consistently being up there for podiums. I think in terms of the reserve list, Sepp Spelt, he's one who obviously won the first ever F4 FRL race, I think maybe in Bahrain pre-season, but he's obviously a reserve. I like Timo the Champ's got a lot of hype around him. Apparently he's more F3 pace, so I think he could definitely be up there consistently, maybe for podiums, but once again, we don't really know. But I'll pose a question over to you. Who do you think maybe could be the champion or maybe a dark horse for the championship as well?
If it's not a Ferrari, then probably consistently. Probably if he stays in F4, probably Pip or like you said, maybe Ties or Cryptic, maybe or my own even teammate. But I can't be too biased with that.
There's quite a few, yeah. So in terms of F3, I think it's slightly closer, probably because obviously F4 is the lowest tier. But if we look at F3, I think one interesting tier.
Yep, I've got F3 here. We've got Scar Demoniac, who's been promoted from F4. Alpha King, who started in F4 last season. And, he's in F3 now. Ruben, who's returned from his ban, I think. Sadio Mano, his Belgian team, country mate. FN Tom, Rackler, JB, Matey Boy, Little Brookie, JB's son's going to be racing in F3, which will be interesting for his consistency purposes anyway, because I think he's a lot faster, but he does make a lot of mistakes and stuff. Jesse is in F3, he started in F4, same as Arise, and VIP GTA Gamer, who is F4 champion and did a good job in F4 last season without avoiding mistakes and stuff like that, but it was close with him in Demoniac towards the end of the season, and it went to the final round. Evo Ajax, who won the first two out of his two races in F4 and robbed me of my first win in France. But TVA football, Jim Stravus went up consistently from F4 because he was a bit sly with starting from the back all the time, but managed to make his way through every race to the front and always consistently get podiums and a few maybe mistakes towards the end of the season with a few DNFs, but I thought he was rewarded in F4, got him rewarded to F3. Cassidy, the veteran of F3 as well. Niels Arno, don't know a lot about him. This is Luke, another veteran of F3. Michelle Van Dongen also. That completes the full-time seats anyway for F3. And then we've got Imposter Among Us reserve, FRL Oliver, Sen 12, Dune Messi, who raced in F4 last season. FRL Yuri, who raced in F4, which you said on the last two streams he was probably F3 pace, in which he showed, I think it was Abu Dhabi, he showed good pace there. Scuba Steve, who came down from F2 last season, I don't think he was that consistent in F2, and he was always retiring after a few laps or so. And Franchi Monti, don't know who he is or never heard of him, and Traffic Alligate, another unknown.
Yeah.
So, what are your thoughts on F3 and the lineup?
I think all round it's had it's still got the backbone to the tier, the likes of Scar, Cassidy, Ditius Luke, Michael Van Dongen, Rackler, those are people who are always going to be F3. I think whether however many people go up or down the tiers, like we've seen Michael F1, Bulow, and Charlie, they've been moved up, but people like Cassidy, Michael Van Dongen, Ditius Luke, those kind of typical Dutchies that you're always going to see in a tier, they're still there. So I think F3's going to remain fairly similar, but the talk about the amount of F4 drivers moving up to F3, you'd think F4 is obviously the slowest tier, so not many drivers would go moving up. Alpha King, I think he, about a third of the way through F4, he started really dominating, and he obviously is now in F3. You've got the likes of, if I search down, Jesse, who won, I think, in Austria after leaving the session, but rejoined to take the win. He's definitely got some pace about him, and obviously Arise as well. He's someone who we know definitely has the pace. He just needs to, I think, get that consistency he failed to do towards the later end of the season. I mean, VIP, I've probably been his harshest critic in terms of F4 with the amount of mistakes he made. It was somewhat unfair to Demoniac, who I've completely forgot. He also moved up to F3, but VIP managed to obviously win the title. How well does he get on in F3? I'll be really impressed to see if he does manage to fight podiums and wins. And I think, as you said, the last one is Jimstrav, who, it's a weird one. He could well be off it, or he could definitely be well and truly in the points. So it's going to be interesting to see in Spain how they all play out.
Yeah, as you say, Jimstrav, it'd be interesting to see. It would be more beneficial for him to actually qualify on the softs in most races, depending on, obviously, strategy and stuff, where he could actually go in F3 and qualifying wise anyway, because he is really consistent with his race pace, as we've seen in F4 last season, with consistently getting podiums and fighting for wins, and his use of his tyre usage as well by, I think it was France, where he went 17 laps on the soft tyre, in which I was absolutely amazed about. But,
Crazy.
Yeah. But, he'd be someone to look out for. Speaking of looking out for, who do you think is your dark horse from the full-time drivers and one reserve?
You really do have to kind of look through all the names because they're all so closely matched. It's hard to really pick out one. I think the one who was highest, I've just realised Jacko's in F2, which slightly surprised me. So I think all of the top 4 in F3 last season have been moved up. So I'd probably say, I could see Michael Van Dongen winning his second F3 title, you know. I think he went missing last season. I don't think the game really suited him. Because we saw Rackler and Michael Van Dongen, I think, in Belgium pre-season or some sort of fun race, where I think me and James commentated on F1 and F2, and maybe even F3 and F4. He was really off it with Rackler, and it took a while for him to get used to the game, but once he got up to pace with the game, I think he was up there. So I'd probably put him to win his second F3 title. And in terms of the reserves, Imposter is someone who can't be overlooked. He wanted a full-time F3 seat, but as you can see, you've got a lot of consistent drivers who are always going to be turning up, so it's going to be tough for any of those reserves to get a seat. But I'd probably say Imposter, if he does get a couple of races, don't write him off to definitely get a win, even though he was F4 last season. But I'd pose a question over to you. Who do you think, obviously, will be champion out of the full-time drivers, and who do you think will be, I guess, have the biggest impact out of the reserves?
Like you said, it's going to be very close this season because I'll have to correct you on that one. It wasn't the top 5 or top 3 or top 4. It was actually the top 7 that went up to F2 in F3 because we all felt that F2 needed beefing up with a lot more people that would turn up as well, which was a factor in attendance, as we've seen in F2 last season, where it didn't start off well with pre-season in Spain with 9 drivers attending. So, yeah, and the majority of races, it was maybe 14 drivers at the most. But, yeah, it peaked and due to drivers' mistakes and stuff like that, it wasn't very enjoyable commentating towards the latter of races. And we were just glad that the safety car came out in the majority of them, just so we can have the last few laps, as you've seen yourself last season in F2. But sorry, my dark horse out the full timers.
Tough one.
It is, because we all know the F4 drivers who could make a big impact in F3 with the veterans in F3 who've been there for God knows how long, and they're due, because it's so close with them now that they could bring a surprise as well. The likes of JB or Rackler or Van Dungen, like you said. Oh,
you got to pick one. Can't pick all of them.
I'm going to probably say this is going to be the commentator's curse, but Sadio Mano.
Ooh.
I've just realised Sadio Mano.
Yeah.
If he can get his consistency correct and not get involved in incidents and stuff, that he'd be one to look out for. But yeah, I've just put the commentator's curse on him now anyway, so he's probably going to finish 6th or something. But out the reserves, if they can get a full-time seat, like James had said in the comments, if Scuba Steve can get a race or two, as in he's racing other leagues and he's fairly consistent, but I never seen it in F2. But like you said, Imposter has got the pace, but whether or not he's consistent enough and if he can stay clear of incidents as well, maybe Dan Messi, Dan Messi I'll go for.
Yeah, we forgot about him. He's very fast.
Yeah.
Very, very fast.
As we seen last season in F4 when he was introduced to it.
Yeah, I think Yuri as well. Do you know what? I think the reserve list could definitely be faster than the full-time list, because Imposter's very fast. Oliver's been practicing ahead of pre-season, despite being a reserve, and he's got some pace ahead of France. Dan Messi, we all know, is definitely not F4 and well and truly in F3, and Yuri is, if he can just keep that consistency we saw in Saudi Arabia till that safety car comes out, he's definitely well and truly up there. Scuba, as James said, could do wonders. We have no idea about Traffic Ali Gote or Francis Monti. These Mediterranean drivers who are coming into the league, they seem to have something about them, but we haven't seen much of them, if at all. So, yeah, it will be interesting. But the commentary lineup, I think Tinturi's a commentator as well. Commentary lineup's definitely had a shake-up as well, hasn't it?
Yeah, with one of the 7 drivers moved up to F2, Ballboy agreed to do commentary, so he's been put as a commentator for F3, and hopefully he can start the streams and stuff on time and be professional. But we've got more chance of Middlesbrough winning the Champions League than that ever happening. But him and Charlie, good commentary team there, hopefully, with Paul's got balls somehow when he's a full-time driver in F4, so I don't know how that's going to work out. But
I don't get that.
No, not do I. But Remco would be probably the first reserve driver, along with Tunturi Pariana, because they're faster drivers who race on a Tuesday. Anyway,
I think Remco is fairly articulate in interviews. It'll be interesting to see if he commentates as well as he drives, as he's already in F1. Bullboy is now F3 because obviously he's been moved up to F2. I'm not sure whether I would have done that, but if buts maybe, someone has to bite the bullet and make a decision. But obviously means Bullboy and Charlie, they should be turning up every week. So commentary for F3 will definitely be more consistent. As I think at the start of F3, who was commentating? It was quite a throwback.
Yeah, it was was it? Toss of a coin, I think, every week, wasn't it? With F3 the start of the season. It was whoever was available.
We lost David, our Peruvian commentator. He's gone, and Lou and Jesse. I think they've moved to different tiers. Just looking, Lou's obviously gone to F4 as a commentator, and Jesse, I think, has gone to F1, so that's good for him. Yeah. He's pretty young, but F3, looking good tier, but F2, I think, could be the best tier out of them. Yeah.
Just one last question on F3. Do you think VPI GTA Gamer, can he do back-to-back titles?
No one's ever done it in terms of F3 and F4. Hiddy Powell did F3 and F2. I want him to, because I think it'd be pretty special if he went from F4, winning it, to F3, winning it, to F2. Who knows? Maybe he could even win now, but that's quite far away. I think he will definitely have his work cut out, because he'll find F3 is, if you make a mistake in F3, you're definitely paying the price. If you make a mistake in F4, you can kind of get away with it. Yeah. So I think he will be in the top 3 maybe, but I don't think he'll win it. But it will definitely be a tough one for him. But do you think he can maybe win back-to-back in F4 and F3?
Yeah, I was thinking about him when I was looking through all the names for my predictions, and then realised maybe, along with Arise as well, because they're both similar. But for a double championship, if he can stay out of trouble and if he qualifies high, he gets his strategies right, just if everything falls into place, he's got the potential to do double back-to-back championships, I think. But an answer to one of your questions about Ball Boy being moved up, the reason being was that he missed 4 races last season as well, and he finished 5th in the championship. We all believe that if he'd have kept his mouth shut and raced in those races, he would have been maybe fighting the championship against Buelow, was it, who won? Or Arno, sorry. Or Buelow. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he would have been in contention, but that's last season, we'll never know. So, yeah, like I said, the top 7 moved up to F2. So here's the F2 tier. Season 9.
It's very, very good. It's probably as good as the F2 tier you're going to see since the Toxic days. If James Hedson comments, he well and truly will know.
Yeah.
Really good tier.
And as we'll see the commentators, I'm glad to be commentating on a better tier this season than last season. But I'm appreciative of all the drivers who did turn up and make it a half-decent season to commentate on. But, looking through the list of drivers for F2, we've got Pastor Jasper, who joined halfway through last season or towards the end of the season, and he showed some good pace. We've got Watermelon, who he did turn up for some races last season, I think, and did quite well. Speldenar, who he got involved, he is a consistent driver and he was fighting at the front, but some races he would qualify at the back, or he had a qualifying ban and stuff like that. So, yeah, he'll be good to watch this season. And Pelly, he's got to be the commentator's curse for any F2 commentator, because there's so many promising races where he could have won and been up there. It was either strategy or he got involved with people, and he made the race look harder than what it actually was. But hopefully he gets his win this season in one of the races. Buelow, our referee champion, hopefully he can make the step up to F2 and maybe do a VPI GTA game and go back-to-back titles. Who knows? Ryan, he showed some good pace, and yet again it was either some consistency issues, and that was the reason why he stayed in F2 rather than make the step up to F1. Michael F1, he's moved up from F3. He's been consistent, and we feel like he deserves an opportunity of getting a drive in F2. Arno as well, the same applies to him. Parrot. He had some good races last season. He got a few podiums because either other people's mistakes and his actual lack of getting no penalties as well, which with the late safety car proved vital with them podiums. But yeah, Parrot can show some good pace when he wants to. Nick, I don't know an awful lot about, but he had some eventful races last season. Jacko Jacko, he has got the pace, but I think we all felt that he could make the step up to F2 because he did well early on, and because of his lack of POVs and stuff, he could have been up there as well if he'd have been qualifying more. Basmati, when he did turn up, he had shown some good pace, but he had some connection issues, and in one or two races got disqualified because he went past a safety car, in which I'm sure he's going to try and get trained up on how to race properly behind the safety car this season. IRL Dundee, a bit like Scuba Steve, needs to be a bit more consistent and shows a bit more in F2, I think, this season. Ed Zach, he's another one who deserves a chance to move up to F2 this season. He's been consistent over F3 last season, and I think he finished 4th last season in F3, so he deserves to be moved up. Ballboy, we've just discussed. Yourself, you had a very good first half of the season, not so good second half of the season, and then maybe dwindled out at the end. I think,
that's fair.
Yeah, not being too harsh there on you, but you'd be looking forward to, as Lewis said yesterday, channel all these energies into getting back up there and hopefully having a championship win season with your teammate. FRL Charlie deserves, obviously, to be moved up again. Another one like Ballboy Edzak deserves F2. Borderboard, well, me and Ballboy usually put the curse on him because he used to spin out or crash out after 2 laps of every race, but in qualifying he showed some good pace in most qualifying sessions. Robin West is another new driver towards the end of the season. He showed some good pace as well. Mirren, the same as him. He joined towards the end of the season and he showed some good pace as well. On the reserve, Senna Fighter, he showed some good pace when he raced last season. Geronimo, he turns up what he wants, so a reserve spot should be fine for him, I think. I think he races in another league, but he uses FRL when they don't race sometimes. But yeah, and UFC Leighton, don't know an awful lot about him, but he maybe mid-pack F2. Pepin, I don't know anything about him. Amanda, he came last season in the first few races, then disappeared for the rest of the season. Steve Day, I don't know an awful lot about. Ray Meader, don't know an awful lot about. And then the next two are two drivers I don't even know. And DNH Yell and Lex12. So
yeah, it's a very mixed up tier, but at the same time, a lot of familiar faces. I think talking about who was probably the ones you're going to be looking out for next season, I think ones to watch would be Ryan, who obviously picked it up. I think he almost won 3 races in a row towards the end of the season. I know him very well. I think he could be definitely right up there in the fight for F2. But it doesn't end there for sure. I think Pelly, if he can sort out his consistency, he's going to be fighting for the odd win or two. Speldenar, if I'm being critical, I would say he's F1 pace, because as you said, I think he deliberately tried to do some last to first challenges. But some of the F3 guys as well. I think arguably the F3 guys look stronger than the F2 guys, which is a bit embarrassing to say, but Arno, Beulah, obviously, and Charlie, they have got really solid pace, which shows how strong our F3 field was last season.
In which that they all got moved up because the league at the end of the season, the league table doesn't lie. You can fool everyone for 1 or 2 races, but if you race in every race and you're consistent, then the league table will show you that. So yeah, that's why we've got so many F3 drivers moved up to F2. Not only just to boost the numbers, but because to make a closer grid as well with the F2 lads. And yeah, let's pick one from each full-time seat and reserve list to watch out for this season in F2.
Yeah, I mean, you can have the honours of going first. Switch it off a bit.
Ooh.
The DRA boys could be up there. maybe, but there's so many to choose from.
I think, like you said, Ryan, but then he gets involved. He's too inconsistent. A lot of inconsistent drivers from the last season's F2 that I don't really want to pick because they're so inconsistent. Yes, they've got good pace, and some of them are F1 pace, but they're in F2 because, as you said, as you go down the tiers, people make mistakes, and dealing with F4 as the most to F3 and now F2 with less likely mistakes, but people still mistakes. But I'm waffling on here. I should pick one. Your Stephen 002 commentator's curse goes to... Arno. If he
someone I probably wouldn't expect you to say, but yeah, explain.
If he turns up every week, and hopefully he makes Tuesdays, because we know an awful lot of people, when they see the tiers, decide, oh, I can't race that day. I can only race Mondays, but hopefully that's a myth of the past now. So hopefully if he competes in every race, and last season he showed some decent pace in F3, yeah, he could be up there.
And your reserve, who would you say the fastest reserve? There's a lot of new guys, but still there's a few new faces.
If the reserve turns up, I'll just shot in the dark. DNHL. I'll do a ball boy prediction. DNHL.
Yeah, we don't know a lot about him.
No.
I think Licks 1-2. I think he wasn't going to get a C, but he's got no assist. So, yeah, I mean, a lot of new reserves. Could be interesting to see who is the fastest of the bunch. But, I mean, if I'm going off my predictions for who's a dark horse, I saw Zero said Charlie could be someone. I think Charlie, he faded away from F3, the championship, and although you may say, oh, he wasn't on pace at the start, he won and truly was, because in China I think he won, and after the whole ball boy shenanigans, but I think, I don't know, it's some of the F3 guys, as I said, look stronger than the F2, like Bulow, for example. He probably is stronger than Pelly and Jasper and Watermelon. And the likes of maybe Michael F1, he could definitely give a lot more than probably Baz could. F2 look more inconsistent. F3 guys look a little bit more like the stronger drivers overall. But I definitely would probably give, if I had to predict the title, I'd probably give it to Robin. Because Robin, towards the end of last season, we saw himself and Miron. They were right up there. Made a few mistakes, getting a few penalties at times, but just like any driver, obviously everyone makes mistakes, and I think Robin and Miron, especially if they're teammates, they could definitely win constructors, but in terms of drivers, I think Robin will probably win his first FRL title in his only second season. In terms of reserves, the reserves is a tough one, but if Amanda comes out of the blocks like he did last season, winning the first race, I think first two races even maybe, I think he could definitely be the fastest reserve as long as he sticks away from those Spanish casinos, which obviously meant he lost his seat. But I mean, in terms of obviously drivers overall, Steven, do you have anyone you want to speak about in terms of ones to watch or ones not to watch? Like someone who's not too good.
Ones to watch, like you said, the ones from F3 that are coming up, the likes of, we haven't even spoken about him, Bulow, F3 champion. He could be making a major impact like VPI GTA Gamer going from F4 to F3 and dominating. Bulow could be the same. Michael F1 with his consistency, but sometimes his strategy calls it dodgy as well, and sometimes he banks on a late safety car as well. But yeah, we haven't even spoken about Jacko. He could surprise a few people this season if he doesn't get involved in incidents, because that requires POV, in which I find hard to believe that he still doesn't really know how to do it. But Ball Boy as well, Mr. Consistency. He'd be looking for a few safety cars. Not exactly the fastest, but with late safety cars and time penalties people get on some circuits, he could get a podium or two maybe. Like last season in F3, in which he won Belgium, I think, one race in a long time that he's actually won. Yeah, I think that's it really. People that
commentators,
yeah,
as well. We have to mention yourself, obviously, once again staying in F2 with the professional streams, which I'm glad to say.
Hopefully, if remote play doesn't act up, but I think I might try my Elgato card, which should be absolutely fine because I used it on my PS4 and just decided that the PS5 could hold remote play better, but obviously it can't, so I might just go back to that then, so there's no lagging or whatever, or remote play shutting down on me, hopefully, but we'll see this week.
You got F4 champion as well in the commentary box alongside you. As Highlander as well. Hopefully he turns up. I don't think he's racing, so that'll make it a bit easier for him. A lot of F4 guys in a commentary box. I think they're all F4 from last season, so
I think good company. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if Highlander turns up every week. Hopefully he can, because obviously he's British as well, and that helps with the language barrier and stuff, and camaraderie or whatever between the two commentators. But VIP, great respect for him winning the F4 championship, even though I did say early on in the season that he's not F4 based, but yeah, it is what it is, and we move on. Mockingjay, don't know an awful lot about him and stuff like that, so, and Sack being the same with him, so hopefully we'll get F4 covered somehow with one of the other commentators to commentate with me. Well, there'll be one round where I'll miss anyway because I'm going on holiday, but that'll be Abu Dhabi.
Quite a stacked commentary lineup compared to last season, because last season we only had, I think, 1, 2 or even 3, but now we've got a good amount of reserves. But F1, I'm just looking at, I think we can safely move on to, I mean, this tier, we always say it every season, this tier is the fastest tier FRL's ever seen, but if they turn up, which we always say, if they turn up, this is truly going to be a spectacle to watch from the get-go. I'm sure James Head is licking his lips, thinking he's stayed on another season, because, I mean, even you got Rocco, Anchor Chow, and Bombastic and High Speed in the reserves. In terms of full-time drivers, you've got the likes of Zero returning as always, Sabi, who made a really good impact last race of the season. You got F2 champion David, you got T-Hawk, who we all know very well, Petavol, just so many drivers to speak about. I think we could be here forever, but we gotta obviously try and keep it as concise as possible. But I mean, I'll let you, I guess, run through a brief description if you obviously you're not too familiar with that one, but once upon a time you did use to commentate on it.
Yeah, that was a long time ago, and this is a totally different list compared to what I was commentating on, but yeah, I'll try my best. Petavol, I think he was in F2 a couple of seasons ago, I think. I can't remember, I think. But yeah, he's got good pace. Obviously, my former teammate of many moons ago on the Ferrari, T-Hawk, he has come on leaps and bounds over the seasons, and yeah, he's back in F1, and yeah, he's got some good pace as well. Hopefully he can finish in the top 6 some races and stuff like that. AVG, Dylan, Mentos, I don't know an awful lot about them too. David, the F2 season champion last season, faded away after his early title win, which was a bit surprising that he didn't actually do well, which is a bit concerning for F1, considering that F1 is a lot faster than F2, so hopefully he can get a few podiums this season. Iris Sabi, don't know an awful lot about him. Obviously Jensen, we all know about him. He is our new Montana in FRL.
That's for sure.
So to speak. So he'll be gunning for another title this season. Medium traction, he's went off the boil on this game totally, as a lot of drivers have with the handle and stuff like that. So hopefully he can fight for wins again, because we all know, as I commentated on him a couple of seasons ago, he was fighting for wins, and hopefully he can be back to seeing better days in the car in F1 this season. Macho, good fight with T-Hawk the season before last in the old F2, which was good to see and commentate on. No, I wasn't. It was you, wasn't it? Sorry. But him and T-Hawk fighting for that title that season. Baraka, he went close this season last season, in the championship, so he's got good pace. Rem Castillo, he's moved up from F2, so hopefully he'll be looking to get some decent podiums and points. Rudy Hullett, not the famous Dutch dreadlock footballer, but I don't know an awful lot about him. Hopefully he can have a good season this season. Harman Kalimo, I don't know an awful lot about him. Lou, I only know from last season, in which he had some good races last season in F1. Fisico, the most underrated driver in F1 history, if you heard him, because in time trial, he's even better than Montana on some tracks on time trial. But when it comes to FRL, he's down in 9th and 10th place every race. So hopefully he can demonstrate some consistencies and not get rubbished by a late safety car in most races or whatever, or his strategy calls or whatever. But TFL Mika, don't know an awful lot of him. Jono, I think he's got good pace from what I've seen in other leagues I've seen him in. ERT Henry, don't know an awful lot about him. Kazizel, I know of him a few seasons ago when I was commentating on him, and used to chastise him about getting penalties all the time, which mucked up his chances of getting podiums and stuff like that. But he's a young kid, and he'll learn, and hopefully he can make most races this season, because he has got good pace, and he can be up there even with the likes of when Montana was racing in some races. He was up there with him. So anyone else? No, that. And then the reserves, we've got High Speed, Bombastic, Ketchu. Don't know a lot about them three, to be honest. Ties. I know from commentating a couple of seasons ago, I would think that he's an F2 front-running driver rather than F1, to be honest. Mainly because of his inconsistencies and getting involved with other people. But he's reserve in F1 anyway. I'm really surprised that Rocco is only a reserve, considering that he is the speed of F1 pace, but maybe he's got other issues or whatever that he can only be reserved. Stephen Ush, it's my name spelled. I've just said Rocco.
Sorry. I thought you were on about ties. They're fairly similar, I guess. No.
Stephen Ush, my name spelt forwards. Anyway, don't know an awful lot about him. MSR Misalov and URL Pasix, don't know an awful lot about them three. But that's F1. My question to you is, who do you think's going to do it in both lists?
I've been looking through the comments, and there seems to be a trend of everyone picking a safe option, obviously, of Jensen. Obviously, recently joining Suzu, so that's only going to bolster his chances of winning the title. But James Head also saying Kazizel and Baraka. I mean, the SHZ guys and WRR guys, I think, are, in my eyes, fairly clear. Because Baraka, if he can have a bit more luck, because I think in Australia, Macho maybe used some team tactics, some would say, to put Baraka well and truly out of the championship battle. But Macho himself, his pace on time trial is, I think, the best we've ever seen since Montana, or even better than Montana. He just fails to I don't know what, he just somewhat fades. I think he has a few incidents, maybe. He needs to be a bit more cool-headed. But QRT guys as well, Mentos, I think, in Imola, he was well and truly up there fighting for the win with Lou. I think they collided. And QRT Jonah, as I think James said, he's definitely got the pace. I don't think he planned to race for FRL this season, but something must have changed that. The grid's really close. Rude Hillett as well. I know you don't know a lot about him, but he himself and Stephen Oach as the reserves in terms of League of Europe, I think they're right up there as well. But just in general, we could be here for hours. The grids is well and truly top to bottom, stacked with drivers who you wouldn't want to race against on a 1v1 in a 5-lapper, put it that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially not me anyway, because I would be like 20 seconds after 5 laps. But yeah.
Who do you put as your top 3?
In
terms of full-time drivers, and then who's your one to watch as a reserve? But top 3 in terms of...
Obviously, I'm going to be boring and say Jensen. In any order, it'll be probably Jensen, Baraka.
Be ballsy, come on.
I'm torn between medium traction and where is he? CPI physical for a top
Stooping 0 thirds. Okay. And who would you say your reserve or?
Don't know an awful lot about these. Probably Rocco if you get to see every week, but yeah, who knows?
Yeah, it's definitely going to be. It's so tight just looking up and down the grid. I know some drivers you obviously don't know too well. I know Harm I think he's PSGO F4. He's probably going to correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah. He's well and truly going to be fighting for podiums occasionally. I think he just misses sometimes a good qualifying maybe to stick him up there. I remember Singapore, himself and Baraka collided. That was probably his low point of the season. You've got as well ERT Henry. I think in Portimao he might have won it or been right up there pushing Jensen to the wire. He had some really good pace in intermediate conditions. And we are not talking about the 2 guys who have been moved up from F2 to F1, who obviously you commentated on and I raced against. David, who, put it bluntly, dominated until we won the title, and Remco, who almost seemed to kind of... David passed the baton on to him half-heartedly, and it looked like Remco was going to, since David won the title, try and take over, but he kind of... Remco had a few races, I think in Mexico he picked up a penalty. In Brazil he made a poor strategy call. In Abu Dhabi, I cannot remember. My memory's pretty poor, but those 2 in F2 to F1, will they be mid-pack or will they fight for podiums? I think if either of them get on the podium next season in F1, they'll well and truly give themselves a pat on the back because the grid is so close. If you make a mistake in qualifying, you're going to be dropping down a solid 7 positions, maybe compared to F2, maybe just 1 or 2, but the grid's going to be so close in qualifying. Can't wait for Austria to see how close the field spread is. But yeah, I mean, is there anyone in particular you think is maybe going to be underrated? You said Physico, but do you think anyone's maybe a bit overrated in that tier? Maybe like Mr. T-Hawk, who some would argue could be F2.
Going back to your question earlier about the F2 guys, that was my next question to you. How do you think they'll do this season, which you've just answered? I think David will be happy with a podium this season in F1 if he can get anywhere near that, because he did drop off at the end of last season. Remco likewise as well. If they can get a podium or 2 this season, they'll be happy with that, I think, in a good haul of points. Dark horse, yeah, like I said, maybe Physical, if he can get his strategies right, his pace and stuff up there with the faster guys, I'm sure he can be up there, but maybe medium traction as well. I feel as though he needs to bounce back and sweat at the game, so to speak. And as we all know, if practice makes perfect, and if you don't practice, then you don't get the results. So it's a bit of advice for everyone. If you put the practice in, you reap the rewards eventually.
The Finns look pretty good in the tier. We've got, as I think Zero said when the tiers were announced, 3 Finns, and even Mr. Parla. I probably butchered his name as a Brit, but quite a few Finns on the grid. I think if you kind of had to attribute them to drivers in real life F1, maybe I guess medium traction control would be a Bottas, because he won the title in F1. Obviously Bottas hasn't, but he's kind of fallen off slightly since then. Rutillet seems like the new man on the block. I don't know who you'd maybe compare him to, but and then Zero, he's kind of been the cool head, but never really lived up to his potential. Only won one race, F3 Brazil, I think, in the Racing Point. I hope I get that right. I should, but he's 900 or so days winless. He's going to want to end that, so I think his best bet will probably be the first round in Bahrain. But pre-season Spain will be interesting to see if he can stick it on the podium or be fighting around that area. But Sabi as well. A lot of hype around him after Abu Dhabi. If he does turn up every week and keep that Abu Dhabi performance up, he could be a new champion as well. But surely, as everyone's saying, Jensen is definitely probably the bookies' favourite to win.
Yeah, moving on to the commentators this season, we've got James leading head commentator. No pun intended there. FRL Oliver as well. He'll be joining them in the commentary box this season. Obviously, Michael's racing F2, so he can't be commentating. Tom IDG, don't know an awful lot about him. Jesse as well, who'll be racing F3, so he could be reserve. And Cryptic, who's F4 driver, so he's a good reserve as well for next season. So, and like every other tier, a load of options there for commentators and stuff if people can't turn up for whatever reason.
Yeah, I think Oliver, he loves FRL more than most people do. He's been there a while. I think he used to be called Superhero, but he's obviously changed his PSN. But he's going to be bringing the enthusiasm as much as James will bring well, James doesn't scream as much as maybe I do in F4, but he does like to get excited, especially as we saw in Abu Dhabi, Saudi Arabia, where it was a run to the line between the two SHZ drivers of Jensen and Kazisel. That was pretty much what got James obviously to join us for this season. Tomage, no idea whether he's ever commentated before. He'll probably have to tell us in a commentary channel on Discord if he has. Jesse, he's someone who likes to get excited as well. There's a lot of passion in this F1 grid. He's only 12, but he commentates quite well with F3. I think Bulow, when he won the title, he was quite excited for that. And Cryptic, we haven't even heard in an interview, so that'll be interesting to see maybe if he's, I don't know, good at screaming over the F1 action, which there's going to be plenty of action. Hopefully, weirdly enough, there's more DRS trains, more people sticking together as a pack, and more people obviously turning up, which is the main thing. Yeah. More people get turning up, more interest for the tier, and obviously more interest for the league in general. So, pre-season going to be exciting. Hopefully, we get good numbers for James and Oliver or whoever to commentate on, and generally in this season could be a very interesting one to see if Jensen can win. I think, is this going to be... He's won 2 titles, has he? Or is it one? I can't remember.
Two titles, I think.
So he's going for his 3rd.
Yeah. His hat-trick of
I think
titles.
That would equal Montana's record, I think. I think Montana won 3, if I'm not mistaken. Like, Ballboy won 3. So Jensen could become, I guess, the 3rd all-time best driver of all time, if you count Ballboy. But,
Ballboy's titles are really questionable in the early days of FRL. But
you're racing against 7 drivers, but then again, you've got to beat what's in front of you. But it's going to be a good season in F1.
As we all know, Ballboy's titles is a running joke, and we know so. I'm only joking about his titles, but it should be good, and you can catch James and Oliver and the reserve commentators on a Tuesday at 7 p.m. And you can also catch James, as we all like to view other leagues, on a Saturday evening, as I like to do as well, on LOE, which is a good league to watch as well. Just
cheeky plug, LOE.
Yeah, a cheeky plug there. It is a good league as well, in which I don't mind plugging. But I've always said James is probably the best commentator in FRL anyway. So yeah, if we could cap his commentary with my professional streams, then we'd have one hell of a league. But it is what it is. People have their own qualities and stuff like that, and that's what makes FRL. As Montana said in his Belgium race when Mads won that time, that was a special speech there from Montana, which I shall take with great respect for. But on to the calendar for next season.
You almost forgot,
Yeah, as we've spent nearly an hour and 10 minutes discussing tiers. But here's the calendar for next season. Obviously,
it's a spicy calendar. I think, as you can see, there's two calendars. They're exactly the same, just different dates to make it easier for the drivers. But the main things, I guess, to notice are you've got pre-season in Spain, which is going to be literally on this Monday coming up. So definitely try not to book anything for that time. 7 p.m. BST as always for F1 and F2 and F3 and F4. Break week as well, so drivers will have a nice rest after all the exhausting arguments and debates about who's a dirty driver, etc., etc. But if anyone can see, the sprint races around Austria and Monza, they're a new feature to FRL for the first time, I think, since we used to have 3 lots of 25% races, if I'm correct. So it'll be interesting. The format is, I think, one shot, 25%, 50%. A lot of leagues do it, and it should indeed make the racing a lot more kind of, I guess, more overtakes and lesser qualifying. So it should be better for yourself and commentators in general.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to see how the format of sprint races works in FRL, because, like everyone else, like you said, other leagues have done it, but FRL haven't done it. So, it'll be one shot qualifying for the sprint race, and then obviously it'll be a 25% sprint race, which will determine the grid. And the point system for the sprint races will be up in the rules and stuff like that, I'm assuming, anyway. That'll all be put up on Discord for people to know what's happening on those rounds. But we start this Monday, like you said, in Spain, in a track in which I do generally like, especially last season when I did the almost impossible and got qualifying by 3/10 in F4, as I've never mentioned that before in my life. But and then Bahrain round 1, which is always a season opener. Saudi Arabia, I'm surprised got picked, because we're not doing, like I said earlier, we're not doing a full calendar. We're doing 16 rounds this season because of the new game coming out. So
drivers voted off 8 tracks, I think it was. So a lot of CAD merchants have voted off Monaco. As you can see, no Monaco. So myself included.
Yeah, I think as a spectacle to commentate on and driving, it's absolutely horrendous. I just absolutely hate it, and I wouldn't even probably race in it anymore, because it's just bad for league racing, to be honest. To watch as a spectacle.
You have to have a close grid. You have to have a really close grid to enjoy it, and even that with a close grid, you're not going to get overtakes. But some people love it, some people hate it. So that's just how it goes, I guess.
Yeah, and with the new cars being bigger and Monaco not getting any smaller, there is virtually no overtaking now at all, because the cars are so big around Monaco. So it's not a spectacle to watch at all. I'm just not a fan of it at all. But we've got the second worst circuit anyway, Azerbaijan, which is on there. We've got Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, which I'm really surprised about being on there, because I thought people wouldn't like that, but obviously people do. Then we've got Imola, Baku, and then the first sprint race at Austria, and then another type of circuit in Hungary as well. Lots of less of overtaken there, apart from the main straight, so that'll be interesting for strategies and stuff. France is usually a good track. Britain as well, and Belgium, which is notorious for Eau Rouge crashes as well. Singapore, I'm rather surprised about being on the calendar as well, because I would have thought people wouldn't like the distance time-wise on it and stuff like that. Imagine doing a sprint race around there, doing a 25% and then a 50% race after it.
Oh, it'd be pretty time-consuming, yeah.
Russia, I'm surprised about as well, but people have obviously voted. Monza is... I like the track, it's one of the best, but I've never actually got good results at it for some reason. But Abu Dhabi, which is not everyone's cup of tea, but like I said, I'll be missing for that week. USA, not everyone else's cup of tea, but some people like it, some people don't. Mexico is like Italy. I do like it, but I've never had good results on it. And as always, a championship should always end in Brazil. I'm so glad that's happened in this calendar. Any championship fights at the top, it's always brilliant, especially in the real championship, in real Formula 1, when Lewis Hamilton won. I think it was his first championship in Brazil when he passed Timo Glock in Zhou Zhou, and his famous Felipe Massa winning title for about 30 seconds until they realised that they'd actually lost it. But yeah, good calendar. Overall, are you happy with the calendar, and what's your favourite? What race are you looking forward to?
I up the calendar. I think it's definitely good in some parts. I mean, personally, I think Saudi Arabia will be interesting to see if we have less crashes there, because we did that race I think a few weeks ago, and there was quite a lot of people DNFing and getting damage. Definitely in F4. Can't remember exactly about other tiers, but other ones like Singapore, as you said, that will be quite a slugfest for the drivers to really try and make sure they keep within the white lines. But we've got 1, 2, 3. I think 3 street tracks, which is out of 16, quite a small number. So clearly, people aren't really a big fan of, I guess, being pushed to the limit, which is understandable, because obviously you want to have great racing like in France. Maybe slightly surprised France wasn't a sprint race, but for sure, Austria, Monza, they're going to be great to see. Just the amount of overtakes we're going to see around there. I remember in F3 we had like 7 cars scrapping for P9 or something crazy on the TikTok. I remember seeing that. But Abu Dhabi as well being pushed forward, something a lot of people maybe would be a bit confused about. Saudi Arabia in the second race, but as you said, Brazil to finish it off. We could see Jensen overtaking Hammerlinen and to win the title. It could be pretty exciting.
Or Warbracker or something like that, or Macho, who knows. Yeah, it's going to be a good season. I'm really looking forward to the likes of, obviously, Italy and the sprint races this season around Austria and Monza. And yeah, kicking off on Monday with pre-season. So I think that's us wrapping everything up, really. But starting with pre-season on Monday, is a priority for reserve drivers to race rather than full-time drivers, if people want to give up their full-time seat, just so we can assess some people's pace.
Yeah, that's the plan, I think, just to see what the new guys can do. I'm just checking the attendances. As always, it looks like F3 and F4 are going to be pretty much packed. F1 and F2. If it's poor, who knows? Maybe some more people might get moved up to the Tuesday days. But I mean, it will be definitely interesting to see what happens on Monday and Tuesday, 7 p.m. BST. and hopefully the action will be provided by the commentators and the drivers, and we can have a great season for season 14.
Yeah, when is the sign up for teammates and car allocations? When is that due out?
I think that's after pre-season. Otherwise, with drives being moved, it could get a bit complicated. So
yeah,
it's going to be random teams for Monday and Tuesday.
Yeah. Yep. So sign up form after Tuesday will probably be put out on Discord for everyone to fill in, and it'll be probably done by maybe we can do a stream this time next Saturday for the Monday's races again, maybe, and announce it rather than on Discord. So
it could spice it up a bit. We definitely get a lot of interest. But yeah, it's been good. It's been good.
Or just do a random wheel again. I know Matt wasn't a fan of that because he got put in the Williams, but But no, we'll leave it up to people to sort it out and stuff. But hopefully we can catch you all next week with the drivers, the car and teammate allocation. If you don't put anyone as a teammate or you can't find anyone, then you will be allocated one. Right. I think that's any rules or anything like that, or is it just the same as last season?
I think everything is going to be, hopefully, maybe streams might be ending a little bit earlier for help with commentators, so only top 3 will be interviewed, as you'll probably see, starting with pre-season. But yeah, other than that, I think we've basically covered all bases until pre-season comes around.
Yes, so we shall see you next time. So from Bunty and myself, it's goodbye.